Hello, good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Great, yeah. Who's here already for the third day in a row at ChangeNOW? Who just joined us today? Oh, so many people, so a very warm welcome at ChangeNOW. And who is here specifically for the solutions of this session? So that's the fan base of some of the speakers, I guess. It's nice to welcome all of you. We're going to make it a short and powerful session of 45 minutes. My name is Snoeck. I'm a Belgium-based host and moderator and a presenter, and I'm so happy to present you 4 people who each came up with an amazing circular solution. And let us begin in the south of Europe, in Spain, with Mónica Rodriguez. She is the co-founder and CEO of Recovo. It's a company that fights against textile waste with their software which optimizes the inventory and reuse of textile. So please give a warm round of applause for Mónica Rodriguez.
Thank you for your attention. I'm Mónica. I'm co-founder of Recovo. Back in the days, I visited a textile factory, and I saw a lot of fabric rolls, a lot of inventory. Everything was piled up there, forgotten and unused. So that for me was the kind of like made me think like all this, it's an opportunity that someone can use or allocate into a new project. But the people in the company did not know that all that materials were available. So I started to investigate a little bit, and I found out that 92 million tons of textile waste is generated annually, which is a lot. So we created Recovo with one purpose: fight textile waste, do something with all these materials. We created a B2B SaaS for the fashion retailers, mainly to give visibility of all the materials that are in the warehouse, to reduce waste, to cut CO2 emissions, and to save costs. So mainly, we encourage company employees to take action, and when the time to create a new project, look at all the materials that are available. So with our software, fashion retailers are creating new projects like, for example, garments, products, or furniture for the global stores, many different projects, saving a lot of impact, reusing the materials. So, for example, one of the metrics we really take into account is that 82% of the impact you're reducing when you reuse a new material from Recovo. So Recovo business model is subscription-based, and we are an international company. We work with brands across the globe. And for us, we always say that it's not waste until you waste it. So with Recovo, we're giving the opportunity to all the materials to have a second life and to be used in different projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mónica, for this powerful pitch. Yeah, that's the 1 out of 4. We'll move on to the next one. And let's continue with Rafik Kheffache. He is the CEO of HELIOSAND, a company based here in France who develops a huge magnifying glass which uses solar energy to transform industrial waste in valuable materials. So, Rafik, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. The main question I'm asking is it possible to turn the world's most toxic waste into safe and clean resources for the construction industry? So the first challenge we face asking this question is that circular economy goes always together with CO2 emissions. Why? Because today every recycling process means emitting CO2 because it's done through fossil fuel for today. And what is even worse than this is that circular economy is a lie. Because in France, for example, we produce 310 million tons of waste. And as you can see, most of it comes from the construction industry. Only a tiny bit is from houses, household waste and pollution. And in orange, you can see that 40%, nearly half, is impossible to recycle. This is something not very well known. Most of our waste is impossible to recycle. So what do we do with it? First solution, it's incinerated. Second, it goes into landfill. And the worst of all, it is thrown into the ocean. So basically what humanity have been doing since the revolution, the Industrial Revolution, is sweeping it under the rug. And fortunately, so my name is Rafik. Sorry I didn't introduce myself. And together with my team at HELIOSAND, we have a solution. This is our solution. So you all played with this when you were little. Okay, it's a magnifying glass. What we did is build one only way bigger for the industrial recycling. So basically what we do is we transform waste into lava in order to make it inert. These are the examples of waste we've been able to recycle today that was impossible to recycle previously. So on the left you have construction waste, and on the right you have pollution all the way to asbestos. And we've been able to work with all those companies to prove that we can make it inert. And at the end of the process, what we did is we created the first concrete in the world that is 80% made out of waste and entirely produced with renewable energy. Therefore, our markets are huge. We have 3 markets: recycling, second is renewable energy equipment, and the last one is the construction industry. We already have 6 letters of intention from governments and large corporations wanting to go venture with us. The company is 4 years old today. We did 5 prototypes, 2 fundraise, and today we're raising through crowdfunding in order to build the first industrial depollution, solar depollution solution. We're raising 1.3 million, and this will mainly be used into building the first huge pilot for recycling. Thanks for listening, and please get in touch with us by taking a picture of that QR code. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rafik, for this nice pitch as well. We'll continue, and I'll give the floor to Jean-Brieuc Feron, founder of Citronics, a Belgian-based company who reuses smartphone components and transforms them in new embedded computers.
You tell me who has an old sleeping smartphone lying in its drawer at home? Well, it's a shame, because you have to know that old forgotten smartphones can be, or it's not a shame, it's an opportunity, because old forgotten smartphone can be transformed into many things. For instance, imagine that it could be transformed into a computer that's used to manage cargo bike fleets for last mile delivery, or that it's used as a home internet router, or even more, that its component, the processor, the modems, etc., are used for district heating monitoring systems. Well, I have a good news for you. Your old smartphone can be transformed into all of that, and we have already done it. We have done it with Bilmo, a Belgian startup active on the cargo bike industry. We have done it with Deutsche Telekom for a home internet router, and done it with Carnot, a startup active in a district heating system in Belgium, transforming discarded smartphones into new computers. How are we doing it? We get large amount, industrial quantities of discarded smartphone, identical models. We disassemble them. We extract the motherboard, we test it, we reprogram it to erase all the user's data, and then we reconnect it onto another motherboard to revive the system and bring it back to life via new applications. The interest for the cities, the buildings, and the industry is that we can provide connectivity and processing capabilities that are cheaper, at least 20% savings, more sustainable, at least 50% CO2 equivalent savings, and which is also sovereign, which means that we don't rely on Asian supply chains to provide processing and microprocessors, as all the materials are available in Europe. So don't keep your old smartphone and bring them back to us or to anyone that's sorting them. Thanks.
Yes, one more to go. So the last but not least pitch that we will hear comes from Christopher Sveen. He was based in Norway. He's co-founder and CEO of RENASYS, and they invented a water infiltration system which harvests carbon. Curious to hear about that.
Thank you so much. Out of sight, out of mind. But here at ChangeNOW, we dare to confront what's under the surface. As every single second, wastewater pollution is going directly into the ocean, that significant carbon sink that we all rely on. 80% of wastewater untreated. And in the bigger picture of what we're trying to do, even in Norway, where I am from, we're ranked the 6th worst in wastewater treatment, known for our pure fjords, our towering mountains, and yet there's such an opportunity to be able to conceal. This is not an over there problem. This is a everywhere challenge. And regulations are getting stricter. That's progress. But here in 2025, in the place where the Grand Palais and the World Fair, we need to get to an absolute metric of zero. Zero discharge, zero waste from discharge, and converting that financial environmental burden into a renewable generating resource that can actually be the regenerating factor of this new circular economy. Some might think it's too ambitious, too good to be true. But ladies and gentlemen, it is simply too important not to push for. So my name is Christopher Sveen. I'm the co-founder and CEO of RENASYS, along with my co-founder Trond Melhus and our extraordinary change makers at RENASYS. We seek to take the waste out of wastewater. And we do that through a cutting-edge mechanical filtration system using advanced differential pressure controls, being able to filter all the way down to 5 microns. That's the equivalent of being able to remove the red blood cells from your plasma. So when you flush the toilet or microplastics are coming into the wastewater streams, we can actually take that out at scale, at flow, and in extreme detail. But it's not just great technology, because we need speed, urgency. So our connecting clean modular units can be implemented now. These flexible compact units are actually the future of what we believe the wastewater industry should see. It took us 4 months to build our largest facility yet, 3 days to install. It has 4 systems inside, and it has 10 different operating systems that can be able to leverage your different wastewater needs. And the results are clear. It's got big impact and big savings. Because we need to be able to show that we can come with green impact with black numbers. And from municipal wastewater, we're going into land-based aquaculture, to foundries, to mining, to oil and gas applications. Because if you're using water and creating wastewater, then RENASYS could very well be that solution that can fix your issues. And today, here at the Grand Palais, 125 years after the World Fair, we're launching our single unit installations that can actually be installed in weeks or months, where conventionally it takes 2 to 8 years to upgrade or expand existing wastewater treatment facilities. Because this industry has actual powerful shit. There is energy in this carbon that we're able to harvest, almost being able to produce 14% of Europe alone's energy consumption. This is a massive, tangible, actionable decarbonization framework that we only really see, and we believe, in the wastewater industry. So thank you so much for coming out to see these types of change-making solutions, because at the end of the day, we need you. We need you to be a part of our solutions, to find this industry to be so interesting that you want to dedicate your careers to join our types of solutions. And to the change-making team for this amazing setting, thank you very, very much.
Okay, let's hear it for Christopher. Christopher, you can just stay with us. Yeah, if it's okay, you can have a seat next to me. Yeah, or you can choose wisely and one of the others.
It's blue.
And I will also invite back Monica, Rafik, and Jean-Brieuc on stage. So before I ask them who's here specifically for this session, and you had quite a fan base here. That's really nice. So let's discuss a little bit more, because we heard some nice solutions, amazing solutions, and it almost seems too good to be true. Monica, let me start with you. Yeah. You're completely on the other side. With your software, so it's a software for fashion companies, and the companies, they see a dashboard. And what are the metrics that they can see on the dashboard? What information do they find there?
Perfect. So every material that it's uploaded to Recovo platform has 3 KPIs: on water, on chemics, on CO2. So every time an employee of a company makes an order, an internal order, it's reflected on the dashboard. This way they can keep track of all the avoided impact, for example, in CO2 emissions, water, or chemics, and they can keep track of the cost savings, because at the beginning, when that material was purchased by the purchase manager or the purchase team, it had a price. So that price would be the cost you're saving by reusing that material versus purchasing a new one. So all that is reflected in the dashboards and gives visibility to the company employees of the performance, how much they set a goal and how much they are reducing.
So they have an insight on their impact on materials, on the amount of money they saved, and on the carbon emissions they saved.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Rafik, I'm going to go to you. Yes. I'm going to switch the order here a little bit.
Worries.
So you're making a huge magnifying glass,
yes.
And because solar energy is abundant, unlike oil or gas, and this allows you to, because it sounds pretty futuristic, this allows you to transform industrial non-recyclable waste and mineral waste into valuable materials like glass and concrete. How does it work?
So basically, when we were all little, we played with the magnifying glass. So sorry, I've been speaking for days now. So a magnifying glass concentrates light in one point. And people think of solar energy as electricity, but it's not. Solar energy is heat. So if you put more heat in a smaller surface, you get to very high temperatures. So basically what we do is a volcano, an artificial volcano, if you will.
Yeah, and the temperature are really high. I mean, the temperature on the surface of the sun is 5,500,
yeah.
But you can reach up to 4,000 degrees.
Yes. How do you know that it's 5,000 degrees, the surface of the sun? So if we were able to do a perfect concentration, we would get to this 5,000, but there's losses. The atmosphere, my lens isn't perfect, so you have losses. But 4,000 degrees is quite high.
And that's the temperature you can reach?
Yeah, the
wow.
maximum we could reach. We actually melted tungsten. Tungsten gets melted at 3,500 degrees, so the hardest metal to melt ever, and we've been able to melt it. This is, by the way, it's the only way to measure those high temperatures, is by melting stuff that you know. So we mixed together tungsten with another thing, and we've been
And then
able.
you get the results.
Yeah, and we knew that was 4,000 was the maximum.
Okay, so if we think it's hot in here or on stage,
it's
then
not.
it's nothing compared to the sun. Jean-Brieuc, so you retrieve old smartphones and disassemble them and transform them into new small computers. So how did you came up with the idea?
I'm an electronics engineer, and I've been working initially in aerospace, developing a processor for space rockets. And I was working on a processor that was 1,000 times less powerful than the one in smartphones. And I've been always sensitized to the nature and protecting the environment. And so at some point I started to ask myself how we could throw away those amount of processors that were really, really powerful, and how we cannot, there was not an economical interest in transforming them into, or reuse them somewhere else. And as I couldn't find any solution, I told myself, well, let's try and let's go as far as I can until I realize that it's impossible, and I'm still looking for the impossibility. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, great. And the main resource you achieve is from old Fairphones, right?
Yeah, today it's Fairphones, because Fairphone is easily repairable, which makes it also easily disassemblable. So in a few minutes we can remove the motherboard of those smartphones, which in a fully manual process, which is still competitive in terms of pricing against conventional new electronics, which is an obvious step to go as a startup. But unfortunately, they did not sell enough Fairphones, and our customers want more than what we have. So we're moving towards more conventional and popular smartphone like other brands.
All right. Christopher, yeah, you had to wait quite a while now. But you mentioned 80% of world wastewater is dumped untreated. That's a large number.
Massive.
And with your filtration system, you can remove until 99%, you said. It sounds like an expensive process, but you do it at a competitive price. So how do you manage that?
Well, absolutely. I think kind of the mind of the way conventional wastewater treatments are built. It's huge infrastructure, over-engineered processes, and what our technology, it's a mechanical filtration technology, tried to do is really approach it from a totally different direction. Can we actually go all the way upstream in the raw wastewater inlet, remove as much as possible, and then plug in our system in different places in an existing wastewater treatment plant so that they can go far above and beyond existing compliance. Now, cost expensive, it's not cheap, but it is cheaper, in fact, compared to what everybody else would otherwise have to do. So we're able to deliver a system at a fraction of the time, at a fraction of the footprint, and at a fraction of the cost to actually come in and make wastewater treatment plant upgrades and expansions much more cost effective en general. We also come with a water as a business, water as a service business model, which effectively means that our customers don't do the upfront investment. We cover that, and then we get charged them per cubic meter of water that goes through. We then guarantee the result of the performance we're to achieve, and then we charge a fee only if we hit that guarantee or that result. It's called URF, Use Result Fee, our ERF model. And so by going from 50, 60, 70, 80, 91, 92% removal, it is in our interest, not just the customer's interest to reach compliance, but in our interest to push that far, much further than compliance.
Yeah, and if you don't implement the treatment, then you mentioned before, when we spoke before the event, that the EU legislation is becoming more and more strict. So anyway, if you have to pay the fines, then it's not great either.
Well, so kind of like my example about Norway, which for me was mind-boggling when I found out. But 92% of Norwegian wastewater treatment plants are coastal, small facilities with 1 to 5, 6,000 inhabitants, and their dispensation under the regulation regulation is only to remove 20% of the suspended solids, the scientific term for the shit that's coming in. And so there's a huge drive to do it, but a lot of these island communities to coastal communities to smaller cities around the world, they cannot afford to build these massive wastewater treatment plants. So if new solutions like ours can come in and connect and clean at scale, we can solve the problem you have today, and as you grow and as you build, we can come with more modules and other modular wastewater treatment solutions to be able to provide a holistic and systemic solution. And that's why it's important to think that there's a new way of developing technology, there's an impactful way of speed to get the technology implemented, and overall disrupting the business model to make it equitable for every community to actually have the wastewater treatment processes that they should have.
You mentioned before your business plans. I want to go on that a little bit further. Rafik, to make such a huge magnifying glass, it sounds like really expensive as well.
So first of all, when you concentrate light, usually it's done with using mirrors, okay? And this is expensive. This is complicated, and they can only go to 1,000 degrees. So everybody knows those large fields with a tower, and the limit is 1,000 degrees. So this is expensive. Making a lens, a magnifying glass, is much cheaper. So it's not the price the issue. The issue is the engineering. The largest magnifying glass there is in the world is 10 square meters.
And you're aiming to reach
100 square meters. So we patented and proved it at the small scale. And the industry was locked for 50 years, and we cracked it. And why? Because we did it in our garage. Innovation, in my opinion, is very difficult in a large group or in an industry that is already built. When you have the constraints of a startup, you're much more able to innovate and break the barriers. So it is cheaper, but it was more difficult in an engineering point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the engineering is that's the biggest cost. It's not the magnifying glass
It's
itself.
the engineering, yeah.
Okay, Monica, I'm going to go to you. So if we talk about circular solutions, of course you cannot fix everything at the same time. So what part of circular solutions are you focusing on with recovo?
We're focused on resource efficiency, and to achieve resource efficiency, we have the reuse software to reuse internal leftover materials, obsolete materials, or dead stock within companies. And we have the resale service. So if these companies have tried to use these materials, but after a period of time, let's say 12 months, 6 months, those materials remain unused, we have a marketplace and they can sell it to other companies. So those materials become available to brands and emerging designers all around the world, and that waste becomes a new opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. And Jean-Brieuc, you deliver a lot of services for different types of clients. Could you tell us a little bit more on that?
In terms of sectors, you mean?
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, you have to know that a microcomputer or an embedded computer, as we propose it, is used everywhere today around us. Not necessarily circular one, or not circular at all ones. They are in your house, home, controlling the temperature of your water or of your living place. It's in your car, everywhere. It's in the industry, everywhere, controlling and automating processes. So it's everywhere, and that's our market. The market for embedded computing system, so which is also called IoT or Internet of Things, and edge computing, which are the sector or the segments that we are addressing, are huge. But we focused, or to explain and to simplify the message, we focused on the smart industry, smart building, and smart cities. So connecting machines in the industry, connecting smaller machines and houses to the internet, and also connecting people and bikes or vehicles, for instance, in cities.
Yeah, for example, in cities, if they want to track how many bicycles went by, that's one of the examples.
Yeah, indeed, those small counters, you need a small computer that does the connectivity and also upload the data to the cloud so that they can tell at the end of the year what was the evolution of the data. Indeed, you need an embedded computer or a microcomputer to do it, and that's the type of mission that our products can do.
Yeah, and what would you say is like the biggest advantage of for each of you of your product or your service? For you, I will start with you, Jean-Brieuc.
There are three advantages. First, financial one. It's competitive, so it's cheaper than brand new system, at least by 20%. Compared to conventional electronics. It's more sustainable. It saves at least 50% of the CO2 equivalent emissions compared to a brand new system, and it's also sovereign, which means that we source the electronics in Europe. We get old European smartphones. We transform them in Europe. We use them in Europe, which makes this activity robust against supply chain problems, because all of these electronics are manufactured and built in Asia. And we've seen recently that...
You bring it back to Europe.
Well, we've seen recently that it's... those kind of supply chain are risky and uncertain. You imagine that China invades Taiwan. It's something that's likely or possible. Then, as Taiwan is the major manufacturer of microchips around the world, it means that there is a risk we don't have any microchips for smartphones,
but
car
since they are
industry,
available
etc.
here in Europe, so you reuse them, so it's a competitive price, it's sustainable. That's and there was a third.
It's sovereign. Or it's technological sovereignty. I mean, which means that we own the technology, and there is no risk that an opponent or a competitive country at some point decide to stop supplying us or increasing the price with tariffs, for instance.
So three advantages I hear from your side. Monica, what's the biggest advantage of recovo, of the platform?
For recovo, I mean, the fashion retailers have sustainability objectives. They measure the carbon footprint. They have goals to reduce it, but they need to take action. So recovo helps you take action to reduce carbon footprint, to reduce the waste, and to save costs. So these three main points would be the main benefits, yes.
Okay, thank you. And for you, Rafik?
Oh, so first of all, we're the only one depolluting without polluting. That's the main. The main benefit is that we can recycle without emitting CO2. But I would say that we're solving three problems: construction, waste, and energy. So these are the three main problems of humanity: is waste, construction, and energy. And we're solving three at once.
Yeah,
that's the main.
because you use the waste, you use some mud, then you add the waste, and then it becomes the concrete or the sand or...
That's it. Material that was a liability, an issue for humanity, becomes an asset, becomes something you can sell. But while doing it, we're not harming the environment. Whatever you do has a consequence. We minimize the consequence of doing that.
Christopher, where do you make the difference with the filtration system?
Well, I mean, I was also inspired by Rafik's big picture vision, because I think we have a lot of similarities in there, but maybe I'll try to go a little bit more micro on ours, where wastewater treatment process really haven't changed in the last 20, 30 years, guys. 20, 30 years, we're building the same tech. So maybe our advantages, first and foremost, I'd like to talk about speed. We do it in weeks and months, not years and decades. I mean, 2 to 8 years to upgrade. We can do it in 2 to 4 months. Performance. we're able to reach some performance values in mechanical filtration that was never achievable, meaning the level of filtration and the amount, the flow of water through our systems, it's unheard of. Cost. Cost is a function of engineering construction, so we're able to deliver at a fraction of the size. I mean, one of our wastewater treatment plants that we helped, it's 1,200 square meters, and they had to double their capacity. That would have been a very big investment. So a 100 square meter facility that I was showing earlier, sorry, I got so nervous I dropped my microphone or the clicker. That 100 square meters is able to lift this plant.
Double it.
Total treatment level at a fraction of the cost. So the advantage, I think, it's never really one thing. And I think our biggest advantage is we're so focused on our customers. What are their issues? Diving down deep, because a lot of them are maybe a little bit ashamed of the problems they have. And I think we're not the finger-pointing activist, but at the same time, we're the problem-solving partner because they want to. They just either don't have the money, don't have the competence, or don't have the time. And so our advantage is we try to tap into those key issues, help them, and together work towards that bigger picture, which is mission zero and zero discharge.
Yeah, and by water filtration as a service, as you mentioned.
Well, our business model in and of itself, I would love to speak more about it, but again, imagine those small communities that don't have the millions that are required to build these facilities. If we work with innovative investors and financial institutions to be able to deliver that and deliver it on a water as a service business model, that in and of itself can disrupt the speed and the performance of this crazy 80% still goes untreated number that we hear.
You are all in the startup phase and really scaling up. So what are your biggest opportunities? Where do you see them, Monica?
So we started recovo in 2021, and at that moment, it was a moment where we had to do a lot of work of education on circularity in fashion, explaining, doing webinars, writing articles, creating a lot of content to explain it in a very easy way and understandable for emerging fashion brands, but also for big fashion retailers, for both. Right now, we see that there is things are speeding up, and this now a lot of people within companies, they have now circularity teams. The number of employees dedicating to sustainability in fashion companies are rising. So the topic is more like known. And for us, we are in commercial expansion. So we are reaching out to fashion brands worldwide, big companies. And we're in that phase where you have to pitch your solution and explain that what you are doing, what you're building with the company is bringing value and adding value. On the three main topics I explained at the beginning, reducing waste and reducing carbon footprint, because at this moment, the solution providers like us, I mean, we are helping to take action, so it is the moment to take action now. So this is mainly what we do.
Okay, for you, Jean-Brieuc?
The biggest opportunity for us is, well, the initial problem, which is the amount of smartphones that are thrown away and destroyed every year.
So it's good if they throw it away.
Well, as before tackling that, it's around 200 million smartphones that are thrown away in Europe every year. So that's a huge amount of processors and a huge waste stream to tap into, and we're the only one to do it, as far as I know. And
because you have no competitors, right?
No. To my knowledge, we're the only crazy guys that started to do it because it's not the mindset in the industry, I would say. And to come back to your point, is that we work on smartphones that are 7 to 10 years old, which means that the ones that are sold new now, we know that we will work on them in 7 to 10 years from now. So we still have a lot of smartphones to work with, even if from now on, we start using smartphones during 10 years or 20 years, we know we still have a lot of smartphones ahead, and after that there are millions of processors and electronic components in cars, for instance, or in other industries that are really valuable and that have a good economic potential.
Yeah, okay. As long as the loop is not closed yet, there will be potential and there's resources for you because you have refurbished phones, but you make new embedded computers out of the phone, so it's no competitors there. And I wanted to discuss a little bit on the competitors. Do you have a lot of competition? Did you have to patent your technology, what you're doing, Christopher, for example?
Well, I mean, absolutely. Intellectual property rights is a very important thing, both for investors to see and also be able to be doing something novel. That's a patent is you're doing something that hasn't been done, or you're getting a certificate for something that's new. We're patented both on the system and our filtration media, but I would say, you know, competition, yes, there is a lot of competition in our market, and I'm really happy that there is, because let's face it, there should be solutions that are big and small, local and global, because the problem might seem so overwhelming that it can almost come with a little bit of a doom and gloom type of mindset. But guys, I am super optimistic. This is I have a dream moment. Whether is competition or no competition, if everybody works, you know, cooperate, collaborate, compete, we're going to need everybody working together. We do something really different. We think we got lots of different value propositions, but that doesn't mean that we can solve everybody's problem.
Yeah. We need everyone to get on board.
So a little glass of humility in both what we can do and what we need everybody else to do. Together, we will be able to solve some of those problems. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Okay. Rafik, you also patented, of course, your technology.
Yes, but I'm from the open source world, so patents for me are something I had to do for investors. But then I realized if I patent this, then everybody would know. So I had to keep some of it secret, some of it patented, and it's a very difficult strategy. So we got help on that. And I think the biggest power is even more than secrets or patents, is the advance you have. Because we're bold, okay? What we do, nobody wants to do. So because of that, we can take 5, 6 years ahead. And I think that's the best.
That's the best way to be ahead of the competitors.
Yeah.
Okay, that's we almost have to wrap this session up. Just I know that for a startup who's trying to scale up, the biggest challenge is of course finding some fundings. But very short, like in one sentence at most, what's another big challenge you're facing, Christopher?
I mean, you just mentioned capital, so I would say people. If there's one thing that I would want to do is inspire young professionals to choose this water industry as your core passion, because there are so many epic opportunities, and our company, other solutions, cannot grow unless we have those purpose-driven, passionate professionals who want to be a part of our journey. And again, I'll just say, this is some powerful shit, guys. Join us. Let's do it together.
Join the powerful shit of Christopher. Very shortly, Rafik.
Yeah, the biggest challenge is sovereignty. We need to keep our technology to ourselves. Okay. So we need to take less industry in, less venture capital in. We need to take more crowdfunding.
Okay, that's a warm invitation to the whole audience.
Yeah, people should be supporting startups in order to keep our sovereignty for the technology. I think that's the main challenge. Okay. Is not taking VC money. That's the hardest thing to do.
It's an invitation, a warm invitation. Just one, I'm really getting the sign that we have to end. Is there something you want to add?
Well, I can add that, I mean, of course, people, funding are topics that are very, very relevant. But since we are in an impact and sustainability event, I would say embracing sustainability on a massive way by the consumer and the people. And that would lead to all our businesses to grow, of course, because it's the individuals who have to embrace it and understand it first, I would say.
Okay, I will really need to end with these words. Circular solutions, they are everywhere. Hopefully, we'll hear way more about these solutions in the upcoming years. Thank you all, dear panel members. Christopher, Rafik, Jean-Brieuc, and Monica. Please give them a round of applause, and thank you for attending this session.